Yeah, that's totally fine. I just didn't see the two sheets. I thought I'll have mine. I apologize. No. But thanks. Thanks, Francis. Was it good? I think it was James, right? He wanted to have his privileges reinstated? No, he did not
hasn't done
provide.
anything he was supposed
No, he's not on this. I've called him, I've emailed him. He's not on this agenda.
No, it was from last time. And I wasn't here last.
He came last
Yeah,
time.
yeah. That's pretty funny. I was talking to Tracy. Because I didn't know about it until she mentioned it.
Well, yeah, he
Who
just
was
showed
it?
up.
Yeah.
That's Nash. Yeah, he's a jet setter. Nash.
That's it.
Yeah.
There's Mike Lynch.
Yeah.
Don't tell HR you abuse me. Whacking me with papers and such.
You don't want him fired.
No, I don't want him fired either.
He's,
So went to the Florida Southern campus. Florida Southern was a large portion of it was developed by or designed by Frank Lloyd Wright. And I have some pictures of that too.
amazing architect.
You should see, we didn't get to go in the buildings because when we got there it was too late. They also have an exhibit going, it's all in Lake. They have an exhibit going on right now of all of the architectural drawings on the campus. So you just go to the art museum there and they have this incredible Frank Lloyd Wright. And then they. And they've gone and they've gone so the students there actually did models of things that didn't get built up, but the campus on it, it's like the layout of the campus. It's modeled.
Good morning, everyone. Call the meeting to order of the Escambia County Competency Board, August 6, 2025. If everyone will, we'll stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam Secretary, do we have a quorum today?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, with 8 members present, we do.
Thank you. And do we have proof of publication for our meeting today?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, it was published on July 31st, 2025 in the Pensacola News Journal.
Okay. And I will entertain a motion for the approval of minutes for the previous meeting in July.
Motion to approve?
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, hearing none, motion is approved. We'll move into the public forum section. If there's anyone here to speak today, you have 3 minutes limit time in front of us. Madam Secretary.
I did not receive any speaker request forms, but you may want to just poll the audience.
Is anybody in the audience want to speak during the public forum today? Okay, we'll move on to the next. Board Secretary status report.
I have nothing for today, sir.
Thank you. And we'll move into our contractor applications. Thank you, guys.
Good morning, Board. The first applicant appearing before you today is Mr. Nathaniel Rugulis. Mr. Rugulis, please come to the podium, state your name, address for the record, please.
Good morning. Nathaniel Regulus, 2468 Tuttle Lane, Cantonment, Florida.
Yes, Mr. Regulis, is that how you say it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, my apologies. Thank you. Mr. Regulis is applying for the application to take the doors, windows, and siding examination and appears before you today with 15 years of experience. Mr. Regulis works as a supervisor at the Sessions Contractor Group Incorporated under the supervision of Steve Sessions, who holds an active license, CGC 1508683. He's held it since 2005. And Mr. Nathaniel Rugeles has the responsibilities that included but are not limited to supervising framing work, siding, doors and windows, and supervising crews during renovation projects. And based on his experience in the field and clean background check, staff recommends the board to approve the applicant for examination.
Ms. Rugeles, would you like to speak to the board today, address us?
I don't know, sir.
Okay. That's okay. You don't have to. Any questions from the board? Anybody have any questions here today? Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Man, unanimously, you've been
Appreciate
approved.
that. Thank you.
Good luck with everything.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All righty. And our next applicant is Mr. Michael Kennedy. All righty. And Mr. Kennedy, if you will, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Michael Kennedy, address is 7033 Snug Waters Road, Navarre.
All righty. Now, Mr. Kennedy, he is appearing before you today, requesting to take the Master Plumbing examination with gas. He appears before you today with 6 years and 7 months of experience working under Mr. Chris Barnett, who holds a Georgia State Certified Plumbing License, and the license number is MPR 007402. This qualifier has held this license since 1992, and this information is included in the packet here. Now, Mr. Kennedy did have a record of a small claims for contracts and indebtedness field in Santa Rosa County, and he has provided the court records and a written explanation for you all in the application. Staff would allow Mr. Kennedy to speak to this matter, and based upon the court records, staff would defer to the board for the decision to allow the applicant to test.
Ms. Kennedy, would you like to address the board this morning?
Yes, please. The current situation in Santa Rosa is not our current company. We have no affiliation with the AMX that is owed. I did bring in today a charge on my AMX from that company from yesterday with my AMX. So that being said, if AMX did file lawsuit against TRTFL, which is shown in the records, I wouldn't have an active AMX, would not be able to use it currently at all.
So the company that you owned before or worked with, had before was the mold remediation?
The remediation team FL, yes. I'm still currently involved in that.
And that MX is not tied to that company, it's tied to?
No, they sued TRTFL. So they sued our company in Florida, which my credit card here and the statement I used at Lowe's yesterday, or my receipt from Lowe's, is from the remediation team FL. So they've sued the wrong entity altogether. We have no affiliation with the other entity.
So what is the other entity?
I'm not sure what the other entity is. It's an out-of-state entity that they need to go after. So I filed motion to dismiss, an emergency motion to dissolve the case multiple times. I've reached out to the court's clerk and still have no response from them. But I do, like I said, I do have an active AMX with an invoice or a receipt from yesterday from Lowe's, from the remediation team.
Is there any legal documentation to support this? from either Mr. Kennedy, or do you all have any of that supporting documentation?
We did print out the court record from Santa Rosa County as part of the application.
I have that here. I'm just wondering from what he's saying if there's, I mean, trust but verify.
Absolutely.
So, looking at this, it looks like you're in front of Judge Duncan over there.
Yes, I've never personally been in front of him. I did hire an attorney who went in front of him in the first place, and then they basically said that I owed, which is untrue. So I filed a motion myself to have an emergency dismissal of it.
Okay, so just filing a motion won't get you in front of a judge? Somebody needs to reach out to the judge's assistant to get
I've
it
done
here?
that too.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay, so
I'm
that's
waiting
the
on a
next-
response. I did that last week. Still no response from them because I filed all the necessary paperwork multiple times with them.
Okay.
Reached out, and they were supposed to email me and call me. I still have not received a call.
Okay, so, yeah, it's the JA that has to set it, not the clerk. Okay.
And what is on February 27th of 2024, there's a payment received of $420. What was that payment for?
That was a personal AMX that I paid off.
Okay. And that is in relation to your court case with Judge Duncan?
I'm not sure if that's, no, the other one's for a corporate card that we have an active corporate card with them.
Okay, because that's on the summons page of that case. If you look down at the bottom, Christy, third item up from the bottom, it has payment received.
That may be a filing fee? Did you,
I know I paid off a small personal card, but they've linked the entity of TRTFL, which is in Florida, to this AMX, that they're saying that it's an $85,000 debt, which there again, if I had an $85,000 debt, I would not be able to use my AMX at Lowe's yesterday to charge $1,800 for flooring for a job. So it's not the correct entity at all.
so looking at the record, you can't tell, because the financial summary is $505, and then the payment received, the $420, it doesn't show what that is, but usually it's a $400 filing fee for these types of cases. So I would imagine it's not much different in Santa Rosa, but without more information. And since when you look at this and it doesn't show the little page numbers to the left, there's nothing to look at probably without a request. Let me see if I can log in and see what I can get in
It
Santa
also
Rosa.
has in the very bottom of that form, assessment due 505, assessment paid to date 505. So they're showing more than the 420 being paid that's referenced on the other line.
Right, so that shows no balance due,
Right.
but it also doesn't say, usually it's the plaintiff that has to pay these funds, which in this case it'd be American Express, that's who's paying the cost. And whether or not this is assessment against him.
Looks like a payment was received for $85 plus the 420 would have made the 505, I guess.
Right. Let me see if I can see the receipts, but I'm probably not gonna have better access than what you have there.
I have another question while she's looking that up.
Yes, sir.
On your, excuse me, experience with the company in Georgia, let me pull back up here. It is showing 6 years of plumbing service work.
Correct.
You're applying for a master plumbing with gas.
Correct.
Can you detail what plumbing service work?
Plumbing service work is basically gas, repair, replacement of lines, sewer line replacement, repair, water repair, running new service line, toilets, sinks, installs, faucets. So everything that a master would be able to do, I have done.
As far as the repair side,
Repair and replace.
have you done much new
New
plumbing?
Yeah, I mean, when we repair, obviously, if we're on a whole new service line, we have to rip out the old and replace the new. Now, we weren't a whole lot of, new construction. That wasn't his gig. It was more service work, repair, replace existing lines that are damaged, or if they need to be all replaced because they were cast iron or terracotta. We ran into some terracotta up there. We'd have to dig it all out and then replace the whole service line and make sure that it had the right drop to it so it didn't have a belly or backflow.
Your job title being a service tech and a lead service tech is just a little bit of a question of should this be for a journeyman plumber first
Yeah,
instead of a master plumber, because the level of competency, I don't want to sound like you're incompetent,
I
but you understand what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, he
Okay.
he doesn't name, so he's very old school, so he won't name people supervisors just because he doesn't want to demean other plumbers or apprentices, so he puts them as leads. It's just his old school way. Would y'all like to see the receipt and the credit card? That way y'all have it as well? Just, okay. Just
The
making sure.
legal part's what we'll be looking at, for that.
I just brought it just in case.
Thank you for bringing it, though. Thank you. Yes, sir. Did you find anything, Ms. Christie?
Those are just court costs that were associated with this. I'm just called over there to check on that. So it's not, doesn't have to do with any types of payments as far as judgments. Is that what does that answer the question? The five of, yes.
Yes.
That would have most likely come from the petition, from the plaintiff or the petitioner, American Express. But it's not related to cost he owes.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Any discussion?
Well, I guess with that, the case is ongoing. There's no resolution as of yet or adjudication.
I mean, I can tell you they've frozen my accounts and taken the cash even though I don't owe it. Like I said, I filed motions to dismiss because I have an active AMX, so there's no way that I would owe $85,000 and still be able to use it.
So there was a final judgment recorded on 11/12/2024, and then they came back and got the writ of garnishment in May of 2025. So he still has some motions that are outstanding, but the court has entered orders on this, and it looks like the clerk reopened it. But in my experience with with our clerk's office, whenever a motion is filed in a case, they automatically reopen, and then it's up to the court or to another party to close the case. So that's not something that, there's not any type of discretion involved. It's just, that's the next step. And somebody else has to come forward and say, close it, or let's keep it open.
Obviously, there's some concerns here, so we need to figure out where we need to land on this.
If this helps, you have two active companies in the state of Florida and Santa Rosa County currently as well, and resided here for 5 years and not planning to move anywhere. This is where we're retiring.
First of all, do I have any more questions from the board for Mr. Kennedy? Okay. So do I have anyone who's interested in entertaining some type of a motion for this?
So I guess for me, in no way, shape, or form do I want to get in the way of someone creating an income for themselves.
Right.
And I feel as though with the case, it's separate from this, and that's something that obviously you're going to have to go after Amex for.
Yep.
With that being said, I know in my experience with work, labels, recognition, that can vary across the board in what people call themselves or what people designate others, sometimes in a way that the owner wants to have some sort of control and wants to be the top tier. So with him saying lead service tech, I completely understand that that, you know, can mean supervisor in some other capacity. So with that being said, I would entertain him sitting for the exam. But I also have a reservation as to what you were saying, Chairman.
Ask Mr. Gary something. He's subcontractor that deals with heat and air. If you had somebody who done service work for you versus somebody who going up for a master heat and air, is there, what, your input?
Typically, though, my service techs, they pretty much know what the heck they're doing,
The big picture.
and they know the codes.
Gotcha.
And that's the biggest problem that we have out here with technicians that don't know the codes. So, but by him taking this exam, we'll find out if he knows codes, because he's not gonna pass it
Right.
otherwise.
Good
So
point.
I would have to say, as long as he's got at least 5 years of experience as a tech, then I would support it.
Good deal. Thank you for your input there. Anybody else?
So I guess with that being said, I have a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, hear none. You've been approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Board members, our final applicant to appear before you today is Mr. Bobby Brock. Mr. Brock, if you will please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, sir.
Bobby Brock, 7545 Helms Road, Pensacola, Florida.
Mr. Brock wishes to appear before you today to reciprocate his general contractor's license from Santa Rosa County. Currently in Escambia County, Mr. Brock does hold a residential contractor's license. He took this was approved for the examination on July the 10th, 2024, and he was issued his initial competency card for his residential contractor's license October the 15th, 2024. It has been held in good standing until this date. He passed the business and law examination in Escambia County with a passing score of 82%. He passed the general contractor's examination in Santa Rosa County with a score of 76%. As you know, Escambia County does require 4 years of experience set forth by State Statute 49-111 for examination and for reciprocity. He obtained all of his experience in the field under license holder Mr. Chris Brown of Shooting Stars Construction, license number RG 0019314. He did utilize the experience form that was provided to you during his original examination, and he requested to use this form again. This was requested because at the time Mr. Brown qualified his experience, the qualifier's license was active. Mr. Brown's license currently is inactive at this time, and he was unable to sign a new form. The experience form, which was submitted, has been provided to be considered at the discretion of the board. His total experience under Mr. Brown's license from date of employment until the date in which he was approved to take his exam was 6 years and 10 days. All corresponding documentation has been provided to you in the application for reciprocity, and staff will defer to the board for decision, whether to approve or deny his application for reciprocity. Mr. Brown did provide a letter of explanation regarding this situation. I would need a motion from the board in order to accept this as part of his application packet. Pending your approval, I'll be happy to provide this letter to the board.
I have a motion to submit this letter in evidence.
So moved.
Second? I have a second? All in favor? Aye? Aye.
For clarification, this is from the applicant. If I misspoke, I do
Right, you did.
apologize.
Thank you. Is anything further from,
Nothing further from staff, sir.
okay. So if I'm understanding, he passed the test in Santa Rosa County?
He did. He did pass the general contractor's examination in Escambia County,
In
or
Escambia?
in Santa Rosa
Santa
County.
Rosa, okay.
He passed his residential contractor's examination here in Escambia County. He does meet the 4-year requirement. However, and the reciprocation is being brought before you today because of the qualifier.
So we make sure I'm understanding, he does not meet the 4-year?
So to clarify,
Right.
Mr. Brock came before this board, got approved to exam for residential contractor.
Right.
So he's already passed business and law with this board.
Right.
He then went over to Santa Rosa County, passed the examination. He got sponsored from Santa Rosa to pass the examination as general contractor over there. And he's wishing to reciprocate his general contractor's license over to Escambia. Whenever you approved him to exam for his residential license, it was a general contractor who qualified him at that time, who gave that experience. He's using that same experience affidavit today to hopefully allow for reciprocity from Santa Rosa to here.
But Escambia does have a 4-year, and so he's asking to take the 4 years previous.
That's correct. So
approved
he
by
is,
Santa
he
Rosa
is
already.
requesting to use the previous experience affidavit and apply it to this new reciprocity
Gotcha.
Right. And just,
because of the timing
Gotcha.
and
Just
how
want
it
to make sure
played out.
everybody's clear with what's,
Right.
okay.
And at the time, whenever he qualified his experience for the residential contractor, Mr. Brown had active permitting privileges, active license.
So we had that. Okay. Mr. Brock, would you like to address the board today?
I don't know what to say. That's why I wrote the letter. I'm not the best at talking in front of people. It was easier to write it out for you.
I appreciate you writing this. I know it's a little difficult situation with you, but
A little bit.
yeah. Yeah. So how long have you been working in Santa Rosa County now?
Well, I've had the license a month now with the general contractor.
So you're just getting started over
Yeah,
there?
yeah.
Just getting started.
I would have took it originally, but I was kind of misinformed by another county on getting it. They told me it was faster to get the residential first. I went with what they said, and here I am, paying twice.
Do you have any experience on 4-story buildings?
Not on 4-story buildings. That's the hardest part of it.
You know, you understand general contractors and unlimited, okay.
Yeah.
I thought there was a thing in the chapter 89. Where's Tim at? Oh, there he is. I need my brain. I need my brain in here. I thought there was something about it that you had to have experience in that. In other words, if you were going to work as a general contractor above 3 floors, that you had to have experience in that. Be like a pool guy. You can't get experience as a plumber, go to a pool. You have to have it in that. Excuse me, Mr. Brock.
Mr. Chairman, there may be something in there for a state certified contractor. I would have to go back and look. But I can just give you an example of say, a building inspector. Some of the same process. You have to have verified experience in so many years to qualify to sit for the exam as a building inspector. But you may not have, say, roofing experience, but you've done framing. But if you take the test and you pass the test, you can inspect roofs. you know, I think for a local license, it's whatever the local license, the requirements for the local license, list. But, you know, I'm thinking there is something in there for state certified contractors, but I would have to look it up.
I think that's what I'm thinking of the state then, for
There
not
may
the
be,
local.
yeah.
So the local could be different.
Our county ordinance says that they have to have 4 years of experience in the trade that they're wanting to go into. And it has to be verifiable experience, hence the experience affidavit.
So I guess the board would have to decide, is general contracting his experience, or is building contracting, or residential? Because you got 3 different levels: residential contractor, a building contractor, and a general contractor. So am I understanding that the board would have to decide, is
He-
that experience level
Well,
conducive to that?
he's requesting general contractor, that's what he's applied for.
Right.
He already holds residential contractor.
Right, his residential is in Santa Rosa County, right?
His residential is in Escambia,
Escambia County. So he's wanting to go up to general.
that's correct.
It's a big jump.
The qualifying company is a residential or a building contractor?
The experience affidavit was signed by a general contractor.
Okay, but, okay, so like, they can build anything general contractor or 3 stories or below?
It's
General's
anything,
unlimited.
general contractor.
But we also understand, which you just clearly stated, that you haven't built any buildings or been a part of building any buildings, or your qualifier has not been a part of building any buildings.
Over 4 stories.
Right.
And like Ms. Melanie said, we're not wanting to limit your ability to work,
Yeah.
but we do want to make sure, because unfortunately, we deal with
Oh, I get it.
people who work
100%.
outside of, you're very familiar. So I can tell you, I have reservations on the,
So to assist, Mr. Brock, what scopes of work are you wanting to perform?
Pretty much the building contractor would cover everything. I don't really ever want to go that high. It's just I have the ability to test for it, to get the license. I'd like to get what I could get, that way build a business on it. I'll never build anything over 4 stories, never get that high, don't want to. It's just, I worked under somebody to cover me to get it. That's what I was going for.
Yeah, I think, personally speaking, that I'd like to see you not only have a qualification to build tall buildings, even though you're saying you're not going to do it. But
Yeah,
what happens
I
a
get
lot
it.
in the industry is that people lease their licenses out. And that's where we get into a debacle where, you know, things happen. And, you know, from your point of view, and if I was standing in your position right
Oh, yeah,
now,
I get it.
you know, if somebody comes to me and say, I'd like to lease your license, you know, we'll look and see, hey, how well that's gonna benefit us, and we move ahead and do it, and we end up in a bad situation. So like the chairman, I don't feel comfortable approving this license at this time until you have qualifications that come with building buildings, or a qualifier that has built buildings that you've been a part of.
we're not trying to limit you from working.
I
I
get
don't
it.
want you to, you know, okay.
Yeah.
So
So
should we vote for
May-
or against this, or should we allow him to,
may I pose a question?
please?
Would the passing examination for a general contractor's license from Santa Rosa qualify him to receive a building contractor's license here?
I would say yes, because the general contractor is more advanced than the building contractor, even though, from my experience of taking the state test, I'd done the same thing. I didn't want to go higher, so I went to building contractor because of, I understand that's where I wanted to be at. But the test is still very much, pretty much the same. You probably do a little more concrete and rebar in the general versus the building, but not that much. What do you guys think? Hit your mic.
In reference to what was just proposed, there's got to be a allowance. Are we allowed to issue a certified builder's license if he has a general contractor's license in Santa Rosa County?
He
Is that
only has
allowed?
a residential over there.
We has a,
No, I have general in
Yeah,
Santa Rosa
general.
County. I have
Okay, I'm sorry, residential here. I'm sorry.
so I think what you were saying is a general contractor's license is more than a builder's contractor's license, but are we allowed to, to allow him not to take the exam and just, it'd be a conveyance from Santa Rosa County? Are we allowed to
That's
do that?
reciprocity.
I would think that you couldn't do that under the guise of reciprocity. I would think it would be application for examination, and then if you wanted to accept his test scores from the general, in lieu of test scores from the building, I think you would have to see it under a different application. It wouldn't just be converted over like that.
Yeah, today, he's just asking to transfer reciprocity from Santa Rosa to here, to Escambia, and that's the,
Right.
Yeah, I've already passed the test.
right.
Yeah.
So where we've seen this in the past, whenever someone wants to get licensed locally, and I could call out a few names that you might remember, but they took the state examination instead of our examination. And although the examinations are not identical, this board has allowed for those scores to be utilized in lieu of our examination scores. So that's a similar scenario.
I know on the state level, some of our college kids are coming out and they have the knowledge, they can go past these tests, but they're winding up with some problems, and CILB is taking a deep look at that in the revamping of the DBPR, so just because study the books and get the knowledge, it's a difference when you're out in the field, putting on the real roof, huh?
Well, and I will say that Santa Rosa uses the same testing provider as Escambia.
Right.
So it would be in line with a test that,
Right, the testing would be.
that we
yeah.
would issue.
Right.
Mhm.
We're not, challenging the testing, it's just the experience to be able to do that, that's the. So do we go ahead and vote, or do we allow the opportunity for withdrawal and resubmittal for something else if it's chosen? Do we offer the option, Madam Secretary?
The board has discretion in this matter.
Well, that's a very good answer. Boy, she slid right out of that one, didn't she? Got a good employee, Ms. Tim.
So does that mean as a board, we could amend it to being the builders?
So what you could do, you could say, hey, we're not okay with this route. Please submit an application for examination for us to review. Or you could say, okay, yes, we're okay with this route. Does that make it?
So I would need a motion still either way.
Yes, sir.
Can we propose maybe to make reciprocity for a builder license?
He doesn't have a builder's contractor's license, so there would be no reciprocity process. Either you're going to allow him to reciprocate his general contractor's license per the application, or you're going to request that he submit
For a building.
a different application.
And then we could accept his testing at general for the building, so he wouldn't have to take another test. He would just come in as a building contractor.
And we can even apply the fees that he paid for this application to the
To the new
fee,
one.
yes.
That would be kind. Okay, I'm looking for a motion or some kind of movement here.
Y'all just don't want to say all the words.
You'll probably word it better than we would.
So I'm looking for a motion to,
I was about to say motion for what Jennifer said.
So what you're wanting to do is deny the general contractor reciprocity, but allow him to apply the funds that he's already paid if he wants to if he wants to apply for the building contractor.
so I'm looking for a
And the
motion.
test and the examination to count as him having sat for the builder's examination, we accept that as well.
So I'm looking for a motion to deny the application today for general contracting with the option, with the reciprocity, with the option of reapplying as a building contractor with all fees transferred and accepting the test grades for the existing general contractor's license. Do I have a motion? All you have to say is so move.
So moved.
You don't have to repeat all that.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions on all this? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. You understand what we're doing? We're not
Yep, I get it.
any way clipping your wings. I don't feel that at all. We're just trying to make sure we, get you in the right place. And staff can help you get that taken care of. Should be no problem at all.
All righty. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Brock. Thank you. Good luck with everything, buddy. Just a second. Okay, we will now move into probable cause. Sorry about that. I had to make myself some notes to figure out what we did.
All right. Probable cause, item 1 is Christopher W. Brown doing business as Shooting Stars Construction, LLC, state registered license number RG 0019314, Contractor Competency Board complaint number 250649COM. It's in regard to Jakima McCorvey, homeowner complainant at 1819 North A Street, Pensacola, Florida 32501. Proper notice was sent to the respondent, and it is uploaded in the backup documentation. Mr. Brown, are you present today?
He's present, yes.
And will you be providing testimony for this hearing?
And I'm not Mr. Brown, I represent Mr. Brown, I'm Robert Allen. And we anticipate that we will be
Yes.
providing some testimony, yes.
Yes, sir. Ms. McCorvey, are you present today? Yes, I am. And will you be providing testimony for this hearing today? Is there anyone else that will be providing testimony for this hearing today? All right. At this time, I'm going to have both parties sworn in, as well as Ms. Reber, and Ms. Reber will remain sworn for the duration of these hearings.
You raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm the testimony about to give you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I swear.
At this time, we're going to go through Ms. Reber's investigative report. Ms. Reber, was a complaint filed, and if so, on what date was it filed?
Yes, the complaint was filed on June 2nd, 2025.
And what was the case number assigned to that complaint?
250649 COM.
And who was the complaint filed against?
Jamaica McCorvey.
No, against.
Oh, I apologize. Christopher W. Brown, doing business as Shooting Stars Construction, LLC.
And is 1234 Brown Circle, Gulf Breeze, Florida, 32563, the address on file for that contractor?
Yes, it is.
What type of license does that contractor hold?
He is a state registered general contractor.
And who was the complainant?
Jamaica McCorvey.
Jakima?
Jakima.
And can you take us through a synopsis of what occurred during, or what you learned during your investigation?
Escambia County Building Services staff received a formal complaint submitted by Jakemia McCorvey alleging that Christopher W. Brown, doing business as Shooting Stars Construction LLC, allowed an unlicensed person, Carl Z. Likely, doing business as Likely Enterprises, to conduct work for a new single-family dwelling in an accessory structure using Brown's license to obtain permits. McCorvey states that she entered into a contract on March 31, 2023 with Likely for a new single-family home in an accessory structure behind the home. The total cost contained in the contract is $180,000 with a completion date of July 14, 2023. McCorvey gave Likely Enterprises a payment of $50,000 on March 31, 2023, in accordance with the terms of the contract. McCorvey states that she made direct payments to subcontractors hired by Likely when presented with the invoices to her. McCorvey alleges these were all costs associated with the construction of the home and included in the contract amount. McCorvey made a payment to Bonner's Hauling on May 17, 2023, payment to MT Milton Trust on May 31, 2023, and High Tech Plumbing and Heating on August 31, 2023. McCorvey states that on September 26, 2023, she made a $25,000 payment to Carl Likely. McCorvey alleges that work stalled until the roof was installed on the single-family dwelling in May of 2024. McCorvey states that the project was abandoned and has had no additional work performed. McCorvey alleges she checked the permit status with the City of Pensacola and learned that the permit had expired, and she also learned that no permit had been obtained for the accessory structure. McCorvey states that she requested Likely to meet her at the permitting office, where she learned that permits were pulled by Brown, doing business as Shooting Stars Construction LLC. McCorvey states that Brown was with Likely when they met at the permit office. However, Likely did not explain that Brown was the licensed contractor for her project. The City of Pensacola provided the permit history for the project. The permit noted that a stop work order had been issued on July 7, 2023, because the permit had not been issued. The permit was issued on July 31, 2023. The permit for the accessory structure was not obtained until August 8th of 2023.
And during your investigation, did that result in any alleged violations? If so, can you please take us through those alleged violations, your justification, and any supporting documentation you have received?
Allegedly, Code Section 1837C3, knowingly combining with or conspiring with an uncertified or an unregistered person by allowing one certificate to be used by that person with intent to evade the provisions of the article. Justification: executed contracts signed by Carl Likely and payments made directly to Likely. In the evidence of supporting documentation, Complainant's Exhibit B, executed contract dated May 31st, 2023. Investigators Exhibit D, proof of payment totaling $75,000 paid to Carl Likely and Carl Likely Enterprises. Allegedly, Code Section 1837D10, abandonment. Justification: city permitting history shows expired permits and not all, and last inspection completed on September 22nd, 2023. Supporting documentation, investigators Exhibit E and F, city permitting for single-family dwelling and accessory detached unit. Allegedly Code Section 1837D 15B, proceeding on any job without obtaining applicable local building department permits and/or inspection. Justification, city issued a stop work order for starting the job without obtaining permits. Supporting documents, Investigators Exhibit G, City of Pensacola, stop work, noted on permit.
Staff would like to draw your attention to the attached exhibits. We have a complainant provided Exhibit A, the complaint, the signed contract, and proof of payment. Investigators Exhibits A, B, and C are all notice, proof of delivery, and the certified return receipt. D, E, F, and G were all spoken about during Ms. Reaper's report. H and I are the LOA for Mr. Brown's license and current photos of the project. Staff would request that all of these items be moved into evidence for this hearing.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, hearing none, motion is approved.
At this time, staff would request that Ms. McCorvey come and address the board with any additional information that she would like to provide.
Ms. McCorvey, would you like to approach the board, please?
I believe that Ms. McCorvey is saying that she doesn't have anything additional at this time, but you will be available should they have any questions? She is agreeing that she is available should
Good
you
deal.
have any questions.
We may have some questions before it's over here. Thank you,
That-
Ms. McCorvey.
That concludes staff's presentation. Mr. Brown is present.
Mr. Brown, if you'd like to approach the board.
For the record, Mr. Brown is present, and he's represented by counsel, so I would imagine they will both be approaching.
Robert Allen, and Judge, and I'm so used to saying judge, but Commissioner, we don't have any statements to make at this time. We wish not to give a statement.
Okay. Well,
Excuse me just a moment, Mr. Allen?
I'm sorry, yes, Robert.
Just so you know, what they're getting ready to do then is to make a decision on this probable cause. Did you want to present anything addition or have any argument?
is there anything you would like to tell us? Because we have compelling evidence here, so is there anything that we need to know that we don't know?
Well, the biggest concern I had was that the allegations that Carl Likely was the lead person here and that Shooting Star had nothing to do with it, and that the complainant is saying that they had no idea that Shooting Star was involved in this. When the licensing, the permits show that Shooting Star was the organization that pulled the permit, and that the complainants were present during Shooting Star going out and pulling those permits, that they were present doing that. And I think they alluded to that when they said that Shooting Star was there, but they didn't know that Shooting Star was the primary participant. So we got Shooting Star pulled the permit. We have some questions on some permits were not pulled timely, but most importantly, we don't have any complaints that there was standard performance in performing under the contract, and Shooting Star was the primary person. Our position and what we fully litigate is that what happened was that they simply ran out of money and wanted Shooting Star to proceed, and they brought this complaint. And again, I point out, and I don't want to, and I point out that there is no complaint that something was done wrong, other than them, they're saying that they didn't know Shooting Star was involved, but Shooting Star was very much involved. So with that, idea that Shooting Star was using Carl Likely, and Carl Likely was illegally operating under that Shooting Star. It's just not, doesn't bear out. And I know that Carl Likely collected the money from the allegations, but that that was an agent of Shooting Star. They had expenses to pay, materials to pay, and it was simpler for them to pay Carl Likely. I think that the most disturbing thing that I saw was the contract that was produced, that Carl Likely had entered into a contract with the complainant. I would ask you to, in your determination of probable cause, you take a look at that contract. Carl Likely handwriting is not on that contract. Those provisions that were on there are in the complainant's handwriting. And most important, that I saw an attachment that when I got it, it didn't appear that it was part of the contract, but an attachment that said what was going to be done by Carl Likely. And it's clear in that language that he was to come in after the house was built. It said, do those things upon a built house, not building a house. So we got him, and those things that he did under that contract didn't require a license, didn't require permits. And most importantly, that addendum was written by the complainant. Wasn't written by Carl Likely. So we have concerns that the board is going to consider that contract, but I guess for a probable cause determination, you say it's there, and it's for us to prove that it's not Carl Likely's, but that handwriting is not Carl Likely. That attachment to it was not part of Carl Likely's signature. But again, I explained to him that this is a probable cause determination, but we did want to have the concerns that with Shooting Stars, that the workmanship, no problem. Didn't complain of the workmanship. And this was an issue when they stopped, when the payments stopped, that they're now trying to force Shooting Star, and they had a lot of conversations with the complainant that they simply could not continue doing the work once they were informed that the home builder had ran out of money. And if you look at the amount of money that was spent, that is just not enough to complete the job. So this isn't a situation where, and their policy is that they do the work and then they get paid for it. So that's why a lot of work was done that wasn't paid for. So there was no work that they paid for in advance that wasn't done. But again, we understand it's a probable cause. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
So
Dowd.
if
Before
you
you
don't
leave,
mind just staying
before
right
you leave,
there,
Ms.
yeah,
Dowd,
I think we have a few.
I do have a
Yeah,
thing I
I
would
do
like
as well.
to show here. On page 5, where she has on the screen right now, you see the contractor's signature?
Yes.
And you see the name written beside it, Carl Likely?
Correct.
Okay. Would you go to Exhibit H, Ms. Jennifer? This is where the letter of authorization was given for the city of Pensacola for Carl Likely to pull a permit under Mr. Brown's name. That is the same, it appears to be the same. I'm not a forensic scientist here.
It does appear to be the same, but
So if that's the case, Carl Likely signed a contract
could we go back to the first signature where the contract is?
under B.
Okay, and that's the contract. And could we go to page 4?
Yeah, there's no company name listed. There's so much flags here, and I would like to make sure that this is turned into the DBPR before we're finished here, because there's a lot of questionable areas that involves Mr. Brown and Mr. Likely, that the state, it's a whole nother level than what we do here, but they need to, we fight hard to go against unlicensed contractor activity, which really, we've been fussing about this, that is unlicensed contractor, you're not even a contractor if you're not licensed, but the terminology that they use is that, versus this being allowed for Mr. Brown to pull a permit on a contract that was not signed by Mr. Brown, nor is his company name on the contract. And the checks were given, according to what we've got documentation, I'm just, to Mr. Likely, and nothing says Shooting Stars, Mr. Brown, anything, but yet there's a web woven here somewhere. We got to find the details.
Right, and I understand that that's why they're not giving a statement today, and that it is concerning. But again, we do have some explanations for that, and I anticipate it's being kicked to another level that we'll deal with. But again, the probable cause, it is concerning.
You can appreciate that. I mean, your experience level is higher than any of us in this room, probably, with the judicial type thinking. So you can understand that there's flags.
Yes. Not having that be an admission of my client, but
No, I'm just, no, that, yeah, I'm not trying to entangle you by any means. I would respect you too much, but I'm just saying you can understand our thoughts of where we have to look at.
Yes, I do, and I advise them that this is a probable cause here.
Yes, sir.
And I've never won one.
Well, I'm being respectful to you to say this to you in sincerity, that you know, I understand what you're saying, but also we have to see this big picture of it, and so you understand where we're.
Yes, I do.
Doing the deep dive for it.
Okay. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Yes, sir.
to you.
Thank you, Mr. Allen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think also going on top of what you're saying, and with your experience in court, now would be the time for you to convey whatever it is that your client would want to tell us, because this is moving on to probable cause potentially. I mean, so if you have anything to say, I think now is the time for you to say it. So that way we are educated and we know where you stand, because as you just said, there are major red flags. So if you have anything to say upon those red flags, I think the time is now.
And the larger overview that I have is that there's no complaints about the workmanship. The only thing that's there is the questions on who was in charge of the bill. Was it Shooting Star or was it Carl Likely? And I don't think that, and Shooting Star's position is that the requirements is that they could hire, and that they had direct supervision of all work that was done. Mr. Brown had direct supervision, and that tells in the sense that there was nothing subpar done.
Which means that they have, Mr. Brown and Shooting Stars has direct responsibility for Carl Likely under his license. Correct me if I'm wrong, Alton. Okay.
Based on what they're saying.
Right.
And giving him permission to pull permits under his license gives him the authority to go down there to pull the permit. But he didn't even do that from what we're being told. We're being told Mr. Brown went down and pulled the permits, even though he had given Carl Likely permission to do it. Mr. Irwin knows that if you give somebody permission to do it, they pretty much go do it themselves. You don't have to go for your own. So there's, you know, the check that's up here right now, Harvesters is made to Likely Enterprises.
And I feel like that's why we are so stringent on people coming before us.
Yes.
Wanting to test for situations exactly like this, because we don't want to see these repeat offenders coming back against our Escambia County residents.
And I do understand the concerns of the board on what has happened in this case. And I came on board after this, so I have advised everybody of the situation.
And we respect, you were representing your client, so we respect that. We just, so the things that we're looking at for violations is the knowingly combined, conspiring with an uncertified or unregistered person by allowing one certificate to be used by that person with the intent to evade the provisions of this article, excuse me, which is the signed contract, the proof of payments, the abandonment, city permit history showing all expired permits and no inspections done, and then the work started without a permit. All four of these things deal with not the quality of work, as you said, but it deals with your client in the legal side of licensings and funds, et cetera. So that's what we don't hear anything about bad construction practices. We hear that other times, but that's not what we're hearing today. We're hearing the business side is what we're hearing.
Yes, and I've explained that to my client as well.
Gotcha. Okay. Anybody else have any questions, Ms. Talley?
It also appears, if you look at the check that Mr. Likely endorsed, that signature appears to be the same as the other documents
Right.
that they're alleging. That's not his signature.
Well,
And as Alton said, I am not a handwriting expert at all, but that is a pretty specific symbol that would be very hard to forge, but pure speculation.
Yeah, we're not forensic scientists in here.
no,
Does anybody else have any questions for Mr. Allen before we go into further discussion? Thank you, Mr. Allen. If we
Thank
have any
you.
more questions, we might see if you were interested in answering.
thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So what we're looking at, obviously, is to decide to move from probable cause into disciplinary hearing. And Ms. McCorvey has chosen not to say anything at this point. Are you still in the same position? Is there anything, we want to just give you opportunity before we start making decision, that's all. Okay, that's all. Just want to make sure we give you the privilege. And then we've heard from Mr. Allen, the legal representation for Mr. Brown. The first one, Code Section 1837C3, knowingly combined with or conspiring with an uncertified or an unregistered person by allowing one certificate to be used by that person with intent to evade the provision of this article. The justification is the executed contract signed by Carl Likely and payments made directly to Likely, of which we have seen on the screen today. The Exhibit B and Exhibit D that we have looked at. Do I have any discussion on this before we go towards a motion?
And this would be as making a motion to go into
Disciplinary
disciplinary action,
hearing.
right?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
I'm ready to make a motion.
You have the floor.
All right. I motion to move into disciplinary action on Code Section 1837C3, knowingly combining with or conspiring with an uncertified or an unregistered person by allowing one certificate to be used by that person with intent to evade the provisions of this article.
Okay.
Second, Code Section 1837D10.
Let's just take one at a time. Sorry.
Okay. We can't, or can
You
I
want to do
them
all of them? Okay. All right, let's go for it.
Just do it like Nike says.
Go,
right?
girl.
All right.
Isn't that what they say?
Code Section 1837D10, abandonment, and Code Section 1837D15B, proceeding on any job without obtaining applicable local building department permits and/or inspections.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I have a second. Now, for discussion. Everybody understand we're combining them, but we can discuss individually if we choose to. And the motion can be amended if somebody wanted to take something out. Any discussion? Must be clear and plain, okay? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, hearing none, motion is unanimously approved to move to disciplinary hearing on all three violations, alleged violations. Okay. We have moved everything to disciplinary hearing on number 1, number 2. Do we need to take a break or do we need to go on?
I think we're good.
I'm good. Let's make sure everybody else is. Let's get over. All right. Let's go to number 2.
Number 2 is Jeffrey W. Myers, doing business as Jeff Myers Construction, Inc., state registered license number RR 282811736, contractor competency board complaint number 250765COM. It's in regard to the actual Escambia County Contractor Competency Board as the complainant. Mr. Myers, are you present today? Yes, sir. And are you going to provide testimony for this hearing?
If I need to.
Yes, sir. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and have you sworn in.
You raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm the testimony about to give you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
And evidenced by Mr. Myers being present today, proper notice was sent to the respondent. This comes from as the result of Santa Rosa County providing us with disciplinary action against Mr. Myers' license. Mr. Myers obtained his license through Escambia County, and there is an ordinance provision that if another jurisdiction should discipline one of our license holders, then the matter should come to the board for their review. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up the investigation report, and we'll go through that pretty quickly. Ms. Reber, what was the date of the complaint on this report?
July 11th, 2023,
And what was the case number assigned?
25.
Not 2023, 2025.
Oh, did I say
You
23?
said-
I'm sorry. The case number is 250765COM.
And who was the complaint in regard to?
Jeffrey W. Myers, doing business as Jeff Myers Construction, Inc.
And is the address on file for Mr. Myers 5842 Kirkland Drive, Milton, Florida 32570?
That's correct.
And what type of license does Mr. Myers hold?
He's a state-registered residential contractor.
Can you go ahead and take us through a brief synopsis of the case?
Myers reciprocated to Escambia County from Santa Rosa County in March of 2011. In June of 2025, Myers submitted an application to have his license reinstated that had been inactive for 2 years, 5 months, and 13 days for failing to renew in 2022. Myers paid by check the $125 reinstatement fee. However, the check was returned for insufficient funds. Myers made payment in full to the clerk of court, and his license was reinstated on June 10th of 2025. Escambia County Contractor Competency Board was notified on July 9th, 2023, that the
2025.
Santa Rosa, I don't know why I keep saying that, 2025, I apologize, that the Santa Rosa County Building Code Board of Adjustments voted unanimously to suspend the license of Jeffrey W. Myers, RR 282811736, doing business as Jeff Myers Construction, Inc. Myers was found in violation of Florida Statute 489-129, 1G, financial mismanagement, and Florida Statute 489.129, 1K, falsely indicating that payment had been made for all subcontracted work.
So based on that from the Santa Rosa County Board of Adjustments, The alleged violation before you today is going to be Code Section 1837C7, revocation or suspension of a certificate holder's registration by the Florida Construction Industry Licensing Board or by a certificate holder's certificate of competency from other jurisdiction may be considered by the board as just cause for suspension or revocation of the county's certificate of competency. Ms. Reber's justification, Escambia County Building Services, of course, was notified by Vanessa Dyer, the contract license coordinator for Santa Rosa County Development Services Center, that the Santa Rosa County Building Code of Board of Adjustments voted to unanimously suspend the license of Mr. Myers. The supporting documentation includes Exhibit A, Santa Rosa County Building Code Board of Adjustments investigation file for that case. Those are all of the documents that are attached to the agenda. They include, you know, the notice and proof of delivery, the complaint form, and then the documentation provided by Santa Rosa. Staff would request that those items be moved into evidence for this hearing.
Do I have a motion to move evidence in, presented
So moved.
to the records? Second?
Second.
I have a motion second. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, hearing none, motion is approved.
That concludes staff's presentation for this hearing. Mr. Myers is present, and I'm sure he would like to address the board.
Mr. Myers, would you like to address the board today?
Yes, sir. Please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Jeffrey Myers, 5842 Kirkland Drive, Milton, Florida.
Would you like to
Well,
tell us anything?
yes, sir. When I went in front of the board and stuff, there's 3 of them on the board that I don't really get along with. And there was only 4 of them that voted that day. And Tambry, the building official, we had some words the way it was handled and all that. And I think when I walked in there that day, I was already guilty before I could even say anything. So Tom Destiny, the county attorney over there,
Yeah,
I
that's right.
filed an appeal with them to put it in front of the commissioners.
So, Mr. Myers, you have filed an appeal of that
Yeah, I sent
rendering?
Tom the emails and stuff, and he told me to send him a letter of why I wanted to appeal it. So I sent him the letter and all that, and he said he'd get it in front of the commissioners at the next meeting.
Do you by any chance have that on you or any way to show us that you did that? Maybe on your phone?
Mr. Jennifer, while he's looking at that, could you help me find, when they suspended his license, was there a time frame on that?
It was for a period of 24 months, 2 years?
24 months, that's what I thought, 2 years, okay.
This is where, that's where it said, but I sent the letter from my computer, and I don't know how you get it to show up from that.
So there is communications here on Mr. Myers' phone between himself and Tom Danheiser in regard to appeal and instructions on how to do so. So we do have confirmation that there is communication.
Anything else you'd like to tell us, Mr. Myers?
That's it, sir.
Okay, thank you. Has everybody had the chance to read through the items of Mr. Myers and subcontractors and liens and communication with the homeowner, et cetera, that's on the exhibit here, Exhibit A? Can you pull up exhibit, go ahead.
Nope. Whatever you have to say.
Can you pull up exhibit A and just, and there's like 119 pages, so we can't go through everything, but there's a lot of information here that's overload.
I was just going to let you know that as you consider this, remember right now what you're looking at is whether or not there's probable cause. No disciplinary action would be taken at this time.
Right.
It does appear that it does appear that Santa Rosa County has 2 commission meetings in August, one on the 14th and one on the 28th, but I can't see their agenda. I'm not familiar with the way that they handle things in Santa Rosa County.
Right.
So I don't know when this would come up.
And if he is just now sending the letter, it may, we don't know what kind of a time frame, right?
I don't know anything about their timeframes. But
Would one of our options be we would postpone the decision on this until we get further information from Santa Rosa County on the direction and decision they make?
Or we could revisit it as well.
right, and keeping in mind, this is only probable cause hearing, so there's a couple, you have options. You can postpone a decision on probable cause. You can make a decision as to probable cause and postpone any disciplinary, or just push the whole thing off. Those are options.
I think it would be better to go to disciplinary and then hold it
Hold
off
off
if
their
there's a.
printed decision.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir. Yeah.
understood.
Versus losing another month. Anybody on the board have any discussion before we entertain a motion? Okay. I'll entertain a motion from someone to move to probable cause.
Let me pull it up.
I'll make a motion that we postpone till we get further correspondence from Santa Rosa County.
I second.
Okay, discussion. Let me just make a note of this. If we do this, postponing, and we allowing his privileges here in this county to continue while he's suspended in a neighboring county, if we go ahead and go towards disciplinary hearing today, we can just postpone that disciplinary if we're hearing more from county attorney, et cetera. Just want to make sure we're clear. If this is the desires of the board, then I'm okay with that. I just want to make sure that we're understanding that what has happened in that county and the suspension over there is not affecting anything in Escambia County until we start taking action. So do we want to wait on that, or do we want to go ahead and push today towards disciplinary and then wait and see what happens between now and then to decide at disciplinary and not lose 30 days if there's a true suspension and there is true cause? If you look over the evidence, have you had a chance to, anybody had a chance to look through the?
I've scanned through it, so I would recommend that we make a motion to move it to disciplinary. And then after disciplinary, we'll look and see what the evidence is provided to us, and then we can make a decision and hold our decision based on, what consequences are from the decisions that we make.
I just want to make sure everybody's clear what the process, so we don't, that's what I was thinking, that we want to make sure we're, understand the big picture, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I have a motion and I have a second on the floor. I can either have the motion removed, or we can vote and go from there. But it would have to be removed from from the ones who made the motion. And if you don't, I'm not trying to force feed anything here, just make sure we're in clear understanding. And if you choose to go ahead with it, then we'll take a vote.
I'll remove my motion.
Okay, all right. And I hope, that wasn't forced, I hope you didn't feel, okay, I just wanted for the clarification purpose, okay. So the motion's been withdrawn,
With a second.
and the second withdrawn?
Second redrawn.
Okay,
And I'll make a motion to go ahead and move forward to disciplinary on code section 18-37C7.
okay.
I second it.
And I have a second for that. Now, back to discussion. This will allow us to set the wheel in motion, and in the meantime, if it goes before the commissioners and everything's reversed, then we can take that in consideration at disciplinary. And if it's not, we take that in consideration at disciplinary. Allows us the option then to look at it and see where everything's at.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I didn't see any documentation to support the payment to Northwest Florida Electric, All One Sun Plumbing, or More Heating and Air. Am I missing that?
Well, there was liens filed,
Right.
and
I'm just curious if those have been resolved or if they're continued.
Exhibit A.
yeah, it's in Exhibit A here somewhere. One of the big things is he signed a contractor's affidavit stating that everybody was paid,
paid.
and they were not paid.
Have they been paid?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Now,
All paid, and that was the understanding that they had told me, Jennifer, and that said, you get these liens taken care of, which
Mr. Myers, do you mind to put, sorry, for the sake of them recording, we have guys in a little hole back here recording.
my attorney, Philip Bates, had told me to go ahead and take care of them liens. We'll settle that with them afterwards. And I did not owe them that. That's the reason the affidavit was signed. But Jennifer had said if you take care of these liens, they dismiss everything. So we went ahead and took care of the liens, and it still went in front of them.
But if I'm understanding this right now, you signed the contractor's affidavit with the mortgage company,
Yes.
construction loan company, whatever you want to call it, that stated that everybody was paid in full when they were not paid in
The
full
only
at the
one
time
that
of you
was
signing
not
it.
paid was the Gulf Breeze painting for $2,000 and some dollars. And Michelle had told me, she said, you're gonna take care of that, aren't you? And I said, yes, because I've done work with the bank before. And they were the first ones that got paid out of it.
According to what they're showing here, there was a plumber,
All One
a
Sons.
heating and air company, an electrician that was not paid when you signed that deal, according to what,
And it's in the, that's why I asked, because it's in the case summary dated July 9, 2025.
yes, yes.
And it
Page 4.
details for the, yes, page 199.
And see, the electricians was not even owed that, and the plumbers wasn't owed that.
Page 4 says,
Do you have any documentation to show that it was paid? All
No-
of those?
Not with me. I mean, it should be on the Santa Rosa thing.
it's showing
where-
that, it's showing that you didn't pay and they filed liens. That's what it's showing.
Right, but all them was taken, they were paid and taken care of.
Right.
Before you signed that,
No, that was after.
that's my whole
Yes,
point.
yes,
You signed the affidavit saying it was when it was not.
Yes.
And
But
that is the reason why we're here today.
with the intentions that Northwest Florida Electric and the plumbers was not owed that money.
Well, it says here they were, so I don't know.
Yeah, but they wasn't owed that, and that's the reason Philip had told me, go ahead and pay the liens, and then we'll deal with that afterwards.
I think the biggest thing here is supporting documentation
Yeah,
and just, because it paints the picture, so if you had that, that would assist us in seeing that and supporting what you're saying.
I would send that to
Because I know
Mr.
you can
Danheiser, too.
understand, you know, why we would want to see that. Of course, I want to trust you and, you know, take your word on that, but just,
Let me see if I've got it in my phone.
okay.
Final affidavit was signed September the 25th of 2024. Contractor's final payment. The claim of liens were filed in November of 2024, and I'm way down at like page 116 and all this stuff now. So the very last page shows September 25th, 2024, that Mr. Myers signed stating that the $40,406.60, this is the last page. Yeah, it says here that that it was paid, that he signed the contractor's affidavit on September the 25th of 2024. You see that right there? Okay. If you go back up 3 pages to number 116, this is recorded, you can see at the top, 11/19 of 2024. Go back. That's right, the top of the page. See where it says recorded officially? The very, very top. File number, so-and-so, OR book, pages, recorded 11/19 of 2024. That's after the September 25th, right? Make sure I ain't. A couple months later.
Are you asking me how the calendar works?
Making sure I'm not too old, I forgot.
I think you are seeing those are the dates that are reflected in the documents, if that's what you're asking.
That's what I'm trying to show, that in the document, he signed, and 2 months later, liens were filed because they had not been paid.
So what we've got it on is 116 right now, and so I can drop to 119 quickly.
And if you go to,
And there's 119 with that.
if you go to page 114, this is
That's
the
a,
plumber, excuse me, Moore Heating and Air, and it was filed February of this year. So they're showing he received his money September, and as of February, it still wasn't paid. And then the first one is the plumber, and his was filed in December the 3rd. That's the top of page 112. So my point of establishing that is that you received the money in September, signing that everybody was paid, but liens were filed 2, 3, and 5 months later.
as far as Santa Rosa, while you're considering that, as far as Santa Rosa County's schedule on this, it will not be this month before they look at it.
Well,
I can't find.
obviously, we're a different board than Santa Rosa, so you don't have 4 people that hate you over here. If they do hate you over there, I don't know if they do. I'm just saying, we don't know you.
Santa Rosa needs to be run like you guys run over here. They need Tim back over there.
I don't know, you can't steal him.
No, he stays here.
We fight for him.
They wanted him.
I don't know if you just heard what I was saying whenever you was looking on your phone, but you signed, and we
Yes,
just.
I heard that, yes.
Okay, September. It was November, December, and February afterwards that these liens were filed. So you could not have paid those liens off before that. Mr.
No,
Myers?
what I was saying, I paid the liens off before we went in front of the hearing.
I got you.
That's
But
what I
not
was-
before you signed the paper. A while ago, we were talking about before you signed the paper.
Right, but they wasn't owed that.
Just partial is what is showing on the liens from the amount that it. stated.
Right, a
One was
60-40
40,000
and-
And 6,000 still owed and so on.
Yes.
But there's still money that was owed.
But still money was owed, and you signed saying that everybody was paid.
But they are
That's the-
paid now.
But when you
No.
signed it, they were not. And that's the stickler that you're getting on,
Right.
hammered on, is because when you signed it, they weren't, anyway. So we have a motion to move it to disciplinary, and I have a second, and we've had a lot of discussion. Anybody else have any discussion? I just want to make sure everything's clear. If I overdo the nuts and bolts, I apologize, but I just want to make sure we're, okay. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, hearing none, motion is approved to move to disciplinary hearing.
Mr. Chairman, staff would request that scheduling of that disciplinary hearing be deferred until after the outcome of the appeal process. Or, yep.
If they choose to accept it, that's
That-
got to go through Mr. Danhauser, and then it's got to go to the board to see if they're even going to accept it. Is that correct?
In Escambia County, it's an automatic,
Okay.
so I would imagine they operate similarly. They wouldn't leave it to their attorney to make a determination on that. Attorneys generally don't like to be judges until they wear the robe. And so I would recommend that if you set it till October, because we know it's not going to be in August, I would be surprised if it was in September then. If you set it to the October docket, then, in your October docket, then if something comes up and it comes in early, it can always be called in early, but it's not going to happen in August, so it won't be on your September.
So do I have a amendment to the motion that it will be brought before disciplinary hearing after the appeal in Santa Rosa County
But I would put a control date of October on it.
with the control date of October's meeting?
Yes, sir.
Do I have a motion? All
Yes.
needs to so move.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right, discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign, seeing none, hearing none. Motion is approved.
Makes more sense to do it that way.
Yeah.
If we could take just a 5-minute real quick, and then we can come back for this discussion item, because Christine needs to kind of be here.
Okay, 5-minute break, and then we're going to have discussion on the requirements for reciprocity standards. Said it right that time.
I hear that.
Very deceptive. I was like, oh, wait, you be here.
I knew what he was saying when he was saying, about the liens. You know, he was obviously skirting.
Yeah. He was better than the attorney earlier.
What's that? You're right.
Apologize if I was rude in any way.
No, I didn't,
I
yeah,
was trying to make sure it was a good understanding. I didn't mean to be,
right. No, that was a good input. I didn't quite
feel real
cover it.
conscious. I want to.
Furthest from rude, oh my goodness. You stop it, that's not even in your vocabulary.
To me, it might have been.
No.
Hey,
You know, just might have been.
you wanna talk about that project? So it's just it's 2 domes, and they've lived in it for, I don't know, 15, 20 years, about 20 years, okay? And it's got leaking, you know, it's like, they're saying, hey, our roof is leaking. It's not really leaking, it's retaining moisture. Turning it.
Right, like a greenhouse effect.
Right. And so we're recommending,
Oh, what are you talking
said they're gonna, I think, September or October, they'll put the vacancies back out for people to apply.
Oh,
But the three of us, our terms have ended, just still lingering around. Hey, that case, that I know the guy, that house, I gave him a price to build that house. I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, and I never heard from him, so I see what happens. That's what he gets.
oh, yeah.
I knew his dad, I did work for him, concrete and brickwork, 20 years ago. And the guy was a Navy lieutenant, he got out, and he wanted to build a house. And so his dad told him, hey, Waters is a general contractor. So he gave him I looked at him, met him on the job site, took my transit and shot the grade and everything. He was saying I was probably, I don't know, $50,000, $75,000 more than what he wanted to pay. But I didn't hear back from him, so.
I don't understand people. It's like every time I have one of my buildings put in, I get 3 prices. And then I have each one of them, what are you giving me? Well, most of the time, it's higher price, I got more. I mean, there is times when it's different, but you have to. But then again, I've always said that on the county license, they don't go far enough on the business aspect of the testing. If you went to, I don't know if you're state certified or not.
States.
They put us through hell over there. Matter of fact, I can remember years ago before I went to that state business class. The weekend before I took my test, so I'd be fresh when I walked in.
Right. Yeah, the business law exam, I mean, I made like a 98, and what did I miss? Y'all must have made a mistake, or I colored in wrong, because my degree is business from UWF, but I don't think it really says anything, but it was really easy to me, you know, and it was an open book test still.
Well, that's what's good. It's open. Of course, the state's very good about, that's one thing I learned, and I took my test years ago. The state's really good about putting an answer in here, but they're not through with the question yet.
Right.
So you have to make sure of that. And then when you get to, because they'll throw something in there, and they're like, oh, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
well, I was hoping to put everything off until next month, because I'm not gonna be here.
But that also means you love what you do.
Going on a vacation.
You're like, wait, is it recording? Yes, yes, I do. Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah, smart.
Well, we're gonna fly into Iceland and spend 3 days there, because I got friends there. It's gonna show us around. Then we're from there, we get back to cruise ship and go to Greenland, then back to 3 stops around Iceland. Then we go over and hit 4 stops in Norway.
Wow.
And then I'll spend
Rubbing it in.
I'll spend, yes, I am, especially for her. Then I'll spend 2 days in Oslo, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Oslo.
Oh, man.
That's amazing. You're gonna have so much
Well,
fun.
Elton's paying for it.
Oh, hey, all right, how do I get on that? I'm just gonna see if.
You can do it. This is interesting.
Same thing, I think it's all called up here, what it's like,
Very exciting.
called up. Other places. I haven't asked him, he said, you see the lost?
What's up? What are you doing? You like plugging away.
to lay down the knowledge on us.
one-way drive, too, so he was hesitant to pay that, so I don't think he's really worried about it as much as he just wants that assurance. And after seeing me go through his other house here, they just happen to be there. Yeah, it's not, is it Tuscaloosa? Tuscaloosa?
That's why during the meeting, I always look over at them and try to read their lips. See if I can get any insight or info. Yeah.
Actually, he called me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like, I don't know, just like ours.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking, of going back and looking at it and seeing what was said. Because of course I don't want to go off of someone's bias, I want to go over the evidence. But,
Piece of it was the chairman.
yeah.
He's been there. When I was saying, he was the chairman.
Gotcha.
I know most of it.
Main thing.
Did they run it similar to here? Or?
Similar, yeah, similar.
Something that's decent.
They appeal.
That's right.
Decision. It's on actual procedure.
Right.
You ought to give them their process, the procedures of the meeting.
Fine tune pictures, right?
Oh, I see.
They can appeal to their
Right.
commissions.
Yeah. Interesting. So then their county commission
So
can
I want to make
overturn.
sure I did that.
Wow.
And the only way the county commission here would overturn it is if they didn't get this.
It's not, but
The meeting was running.
Process, yeah.
They didn't get, whatever.
Right. And then, so if that happens in Escambia County, could they then come back before the contractor competency board, or would that be, are you not allowed to like try someone for a second time?
That's happened.
Okay, it has, okay.
Yeah, in fact, the contractor back here.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, they were claiming they didn't get their new process, but it looked like they did. And just,
Just do the rigmarole
they're
again.
back to the.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They do it well.
people in the office has been paid and everything, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe
Shooting star.
Jesse. Probably, yeah.
Yeah, well, I was about to say, please don't say Matt Banks, but it might have been in one of them. Wow. Well, it's better to do it again and really cement it.
He saw me
Yeah.
go through that one.
And then we told that person,
Oh, I can only imagine all the things that you have to, and you going through every day. Goodness gracious.
Names are, I'm bad, I'm
Yeah.
terrible at names.
Yeah. I'm great at faces.
I even took that, that Dale Carnegie course where it'll teach you how to remember somebody's name.
Say it 3 times.
And you associate it with something.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't use it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't think to, I think afterwards, oh, I should have done that, you know?
Yeah. Wake up in the middle of the night. Oh, that was their name. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I see somebody.
Yeah. And then you do the awkward. Try to avoid them at the grocery store. I know them, but I don't.
Tell my wife, if I don't say their name.
Yeah, she knows.
Might hear from you.
All right.
Yes. Yes. 100%.
Yeah.
You're like,
Exciting.
remember what was in our vows?
Is staff ready?
If you're waiting on us, you're behind.
So Alton, I'm just curious, I know we added the Pledge of Allegiance, but in another building, they usually have snacks and, so what if we also add in like pastries or
Coffee?
espresso? Could we get an espresso machine?
Okay, I'll bring it for you, Miss Melanie. Next meeting, anybody else have an order you'd like? Anybody else have an order you'd like to place? Meeting is back in order.
Yes, sir. So our next item is a discussion item and maybe a request for some direction. This is in regard to reciprocity and how it is handled by this board. Historically, reciprocity, if there are no issues, gets signed off by your designee, which is the board secretary. So if we have an application for reciprocity that comes from another jurisdiction and it checks all of the boxes and it looks good, it normally does not get presented to this board. John Ballou, the deputy building official, brought up just a question: why? Why does it not come to the board for review? And again, it's because you designated somebody to sign off on those. In recent events, some of the contractors that have come before this board are from reciprocity, not necessarily ones that came through us for examination. And so John wants to propose that all reciprocity applications come to this board for review, and that's the discussion item.
Any board input?
I'm not against it. I don't know why it's not been done already.
Anybody else input? My input would be, yeah,
You
I
want to bring it up?
thought it was just procedure when I got here and didn't question it, but I guess in the back of my mind, there's been a
So
question.
it's been a question.
You know, it's-
So she's bringing up 1835, a county code on that, so you can take a look at it.
And John wanted to add in that other counties and other jurisdictions do not have the requirements that we have, so they're getting licenses there. And do they really have the experience that this board would want to see? Again, like Christy said, I'm bringing up that language for you. And there you go.
And we would have to make a recommendation to the county commissioners for them to adjust this, is that correct?
There would be no adjustment.
No
The
adjustment.
previous directive was that if it checked the boxes, it could just be signed off on. You would give us, should you choose, a new directive.
So the information that's required under B, where it says this information will be submitted to the licensing board for which a license is being sought, along with the application. And then you review it and approve the application, and then they pay the fee and receive a license.
That's what it says here, that the licensed board would review it, so in the
This was
past.
done well before I even came
Oh,
here.
I got you.
So,
I would say, let's just go back to what the ordinance says,
Right,
and
following the code.
following the code,
I think that's a wise decision.
yeah.
Do we need a motion for that?
No, it's,
So,
Well, I'm for it too.
as the board, is it okay for us to give the directive to follow the rules? Okay, just make sure we're in the same. And I understand that that was the process previously, but, yeah.
yeah, it was before me. I don't even know when that came to be. I just know that that was the process that was
Right.
followed whenever
Right.
I
And I agree with
came on
Mr.
with
John,
this
there's
board.
too many variables from county to county that just a blanket say yes, you know, that's just not, like, today is a prime example. Someone comes in as a general contractor and no experience. I think this board here would be a little more questioning as we were today. So we do have to make sure that we take care of our residents.
Agreed.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Jennifer, how often have you had to, or did that, sign off?
So I might see this maybe once every couple of months. Most recently, they've been coming to this board because we have been running the background checks and they're having to disclose these things. So all of the reciprocities you've seen recently is because we're running all of these balances and checks. Have I signed off on one within the last few months? No. But prior to, I might have seen it once every couple of months, every 2 to 3 months, that they met every checkbox.
Okay.
And I would say, perhaps on the behalf of the board, thanks to staff for the deep dives they've been doing when you present
Absolutely.
stuff to us, because it helps us to see the big picture and not just, what little bit of application is there. There's a lot of things that can be discovered.
The building official is asking where the 4-year requirement is at. It does mention it in here that they must meet the requirements as if in examination. That requirement is found under certification of contractors. It is within here, the requirements that they must meet. So it's under the Division 3 portion of that ordinance. It's within there.
Is there a way that we can access this ourselves, public?
This is a public website.
From myscambia.com?
No, you go to, just put in a search for Escambia County Immunicode, and that will take you into that can take you to anybody that's on the system, any state, any county. But that'll take
Chapter
you.
18 is the one we deal with, right?
Our department deals with Chapter 14, which is building code related things, and then also Chapter 18.
18 is with the COMC board, though, that's
Yes.
our. Yes, sir, Mr. Building Official.
I believe that, I think we just referenced the statute for a state certified contractor for our requirements, I think, for the 4 years, right? And I know Santa Rosa doesn't have that, so obviously their ordinance doesn't reference that. And that's the difference, they don't require the 4 years, and they're coming over here without yeah, okay, that makes sense. Also, I thought it was interesting that, he had the experience as a building contractor. He was going for and I forgot. Gentleman's name, but he had the experience. He's residential, going for a building contractor. But no, he was going for a general
contractor. Yeah.
But it might be something to look into that they could divert to a building contractor, because obviously, I mean, he's got that experience,
Right.
and that would be another step. If somebody applied for a general, somebody could recommend, well, we could honor the reciprocity for a building contractor if he meets those requirements, even though he did apply for general. So that's just a thought.
And what Tim was talking about, our reference to 489, you can see it highlighted on your screen. That's where we incorporate the requirements set from Florida statute.
Florida statutes, right. Yeah, back in the 80s, in Santa Rosa County, you could get a certified general contractor's license by going down and signing up. $50. That was my first license, was certified general. And then I realized I didn't know what in the heck to do for a big story building when I got my state license, went to building, because that's what fits. And I don't know if they just didn't understand that, or hopefully he'll Anything else from staff?
No, sir.
From council? You got us here.
No, sir? It's a pleasure to see you.
Yeah, I bet it is.
Maybe it'll be cooler when we come back next month.
Yes.
Doubt it.
Doubt it.
Wait till October, November.
maybe, but.
Thank you, guys. Thank this board. I've said this behind y'all's backs. I'm very proud to be working with you guys.
Appreciate you.
Meeting dismissed.